YouTube, we're back with another video. It is Monday the 30th of June. We are well and truly back into a normal routine. It's been a week since I've been back from Cyprus, a week since a 3-hour plane delay and someone fainting on the plane, which caused another delay. But we're not complaining. It is warm, it's 30 degrees in the UK, in good old Coventry. And we've got another education video. Now, I've done the last two have gone down quite well. The next video after this is going to be, I'm going to Manchester tomorrow to train with my old coach and in a facility that I've trained at before, and it's very, very good. So the next video will be a little bit more day in the life, behind the scenes sort of thing. So that's where we're at. This video is about health, performance, optimization. I know people love the word optimization and living life optimally. So I'm going to, again, jump onto the laptop, go through a little presentation that I made and just talk a little bit about health, how it's not just about going to the gym and just looking a certain way. There's a lot more to it, and give you a few different strategies that do not include drinking bottles of wine. Give you a few strategies on how to obviously get the most out of your health, your well-being, and talk about the effects it can have on other avenues of your life. So jump on the laptop, I'll see you there. Right, here we are. Optimising your health and performance. How fascinating does that sound? Just going to run through, obviously, as I've spoken, alluded to earlier, about health, why it's more important than just going to the gym, and obviously the other benefits it will bring to you and your life. So, as you see straight away, it's more than looking a certain way whilst using a picture of me in my photo shoot. But don't get me wrong, we all want to look our best, whether that be low body fat, more muscle mass. It's perfectly normal, but there is definitely a huge. There's lots of other things that are equally just as you get just as much from, as opposed to looking a certain way. I mean, for me, I used to be 100 kilos, and not from eating rubbish and not training. It was from force feeding, 5,000 calories a day. It was eating 4 eggs, 2 bagels, 100 grams of oats at 4:30 in the morning before a 5:30 gym start. When I used to work at David Lloyd, that got me to 100 kilos. Now, yes, I was big, strong, but I wasn't healthy. I was 150 grams of Cocoa Pops every day post gym, squares bars, cookies, lots of protein supplements. Obviously, help get calories in. I'd hardly touch veg because obviously veg doesn't really give you much in terms of calories, so I was like, well, I don't really want to be consuming that because it will fill me up when I don't want it to. So yeah, I wasn't healthy. Didn't feel great myself, but I may have looked healthy because of the actions of going to the gym and training. So I'm going to break down how to go about optimizing your health, your performance, and not just inside the gym. So we'll start off in the gym, and then we'll venture outside of the gym. So these bloody looms. It's not all about quantity, and it's very much quality instead. Okay, very much quality driven over quantity. As I've spoken about lots and lots of times, I've been in the gym 6-7 days in a week, 2-hour sessions, and you don't get a medal for that. Okay, you do not get more. The more time in the gym does not mean more results or more change in your physique. Okay, because you more often than not, if you're in there longer than an hour, I question how hard you're training, because inevitably your energy's going to drop, fatigue's going to creep in, and you're not really getting them, not doing that much high level stuff. So, with my training now, it's very much a consistent, and this is with my clients, it's about strength. It's always going to be the forefront, whatever the goal, stay strong for the joints, for health, obviously muscle mass, which obviously again is going to help improve your quality of life. Some mobility work. Now, for a lot of us, we probably spend a lot of time sat down, hunched over. People might say, "Oh, I've got bad posture." It's normally just weaknesses in muscle groups that are not allowing you to sort of be in more of an upright position. So we think about mobility before our sessions, getting some rotation, working through the spine, the hips. Areas that you think is tight is mainly just probably a weakness. So a big focus on that, because again, for everyday life, who wants tight hips or a back pain for no real reason? Obviously, cardiovascular fitness is going to be very important. Obviously, the cardiovascular system being very much overlooked. I used to think it was you did that to try and lose weight or body fat, when in reality it's the most important system we probably have. Our heart is a muscle, we should train it. Okay, and then overall movements that are just going to get our best bang for buck. So very similar, I stay away from the word functional, but our carries, our overhead sort of work, core trunk work, that sort of thing. They're the sort of the main pillars when it comes to trying to optimize your training. Again, in terms of optimization, it's about you can work off like an RPE, RIR, so RPE, rate of perceived exertion. So different sessions may require higher or lower, dependent on external factors. With things like stress being high outside of the gym, has sleep been poor, maybe reduce the RPE. Not train quite as hard or go all out, because obviously there's other things to think about. But I'd always be, going in the gym with intent, thinking about, can I perform each movement with the levels of execution that I want to, or is it a case of I'm just going through the motions, which if that happens for too long, your progress is probably going to stall. So that's a little bit on quality over quantity. Now, knowing when to push. So I think this is one that a lot of us don't think about, and I do think your people such as like your David Goggins probably don't help with this. The whole, what's a rest day? You don't need a rest day. Keep pushing. Who's going to carry the boats? When in reality, it's a load of bollocks. In my opinion, if you're looking to get the most out of your training, be the most optimal, most health-orientated individual, okay? Because know when to push, know when to pull. Bit of a Carl Froch, George Groves saying there. We can all push and pull a bit. You need to understand when things are in a position to go for it, train hard, do your cardio, but then also knowing when to, pull back. It's the end of Q1, Q2, work stress is high, your missus is, on a menstrual cycle on the period, the kids are playing up, your sleep's poor, that's when you need to sort of pull back. Because like I've said here, if you've got a young family, there's a high workload, then you need to take all this into account. I'd still go to the gym because mentally it's going to allow you to sort of give yourself a bit of time to yourself and obviously help with the dopamine and everything else that comes after a session, but it might just be not pushing things as you would do normally. Because like I said here, there's nothing wrong with reducing intensity in your workouts, or maybe prioritising other pillars that we spoke about before. So it might well be that sleep's been poor, stress is high, strength's probably going to maintain, so let's just focus on mobility. Okay, let's just use this for some lower taxing movements, but just to help improve our mobility a little bit more. Something as simple as that. Because like I've said, there's a whole other things that go on outside of the gym. The gym's normally probably an hour of the day. You've still got 23 hours where lots of things can change and can happen, but it's about understanding and being aware of when to pull back on things, when to push, and everything else. And that's basically something that I wish I probably knew. And I understand it more now. I've not got a young family or real that much stress, so I can sort of push fair amounts. But there are times where I do need to pull things back, deload, etc. Because unfortunately, the body can't just go 100 miles an hour every single week. Prioritising whole food. So now we're going to obviously look towards more of the nutrition aspect. That barnet on this photo here is rather questionable. I mean, I'm a little bit heavier there. I can see my face a lot more now. Yeah, done myself a bit dirty. Anyway, whole foods. Goes without saying, obviously, you're not what you eat, you're what you digest. I think your digestion is super important, something I've neglected a lot when I was just trying to ram food in. It's a case of your gut and brain are linked. Okay, there's a massive link between the gut and the brain. So if your gut's not quite right, your brain's not probably going to be quite right in terms of energy, brain fog, being able to concentrate, etc. is not going to be as good as it could be. So one thing for sure, think about obviously whole foods and making sure that obviously the majority of your meals consist of those. Now I'm not saying you can't on a weekend have a little dessert or something like that, but I would just be basing my core foundations of my nutrition on whole foods. And again, another thing for satiety, if you're craving foods a lot, have a look at the actual quality of foods you're having. Because I noticed that if I'm eating foods that are low in quality and high processed, I'm constantly hungry. They're not filling me. They're not very high in satiety. So that's another thing. Now, in terms of sort of macronutrient breakdown, carbohydrates, I'd be prioritising pre and post workout to make sure I'm getting the most out of my sessions and also helping with recovery. My meals across the rest of the day would be mainly protein, fat. So today, for example, it's currently 11:30 and my meal one, breakfast, was 200 grams of skyr Greek yogurt, some berries, which I know are carbohydrates, but I don't really class them as a main carbohydrate source, and then some dark chocolate. Nice and simple, mainly protein, fat. Fats are great for brain health as well. So whilst doing a large portion of work, I want to be firing on all cylinders. I've had a black coffee as well to help. Whereas if you're having something that's quite high in carbohydrates, it's going to cause you probably a little bit of a disturbance because of your blood sugar levels being a little bit all over the place. That will then affect your energy levels being a little bit all over the place, especially when you want to sit down and do some deep work. So carbs before and after my gym sessions, protein, fats for the rest of the day, protein with each meal just to make sure I can get enough in. 160 grams of protein, 2 grams per kilogram of body weight, spread across 4 or 5 meals. Fairly simple. And like I said, staying away from processed foods because of health, and obviously on the gut. Plenty of micronutrients with each meal. I'm aiming to have some form of fruit or veg, and some fibre source. So, like I said, some berries this morning. Before I go to the gym, I won't choke on my own spit. I'll have a banana, some dates, so again some more sugar, some fruit and fast-acting sugars, and then later on in my meals I'll bulk them out with salads, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, grilled vegetables later on, that sort of thing. And then obviously with hydration, 2 to 3 litres per day I'm aiming for, especially with it being fairly warm, and making sure electrolytes are consumed as well. Probably 2 servings per day, again, just to make sure that I'm well hydrated first thing in the morning and then after a session as well. At least that picture's a little bit better. Right, nailing your sleep. So there was a podcast with Matt Fraser, who was a CrossFit champion 5-6 times in a row, and he said that once he nailed his sleep, gave him the best chance and the best ability to recover. And if it was a substance, it'd be banned, or if sleep was a drug, it would be banned. But so many of us neglect our sleep, been guilty of it in the past, or think that we're getting great sleep when in reality it's pretty poor. Because the amount of time I'm like, oh, what's your sleep like? And I'll go, yeah, it's all right, not too bad. I was like, how do you feel in the morning? Well, I'll wake up, grab a coffee, and then I'll come around a little bit and then have another coffee a little bit later on. So relying on caffeine. So that makes me think, how good is your sleep if you're rushing to the coffee machine? And again, if you're not tracking it, how do you actually know if your sleep's good? The amount of watches, fitness trackers that are out there that are so accessible and well priced, you can track your sleep, and that's going to give you a far more accurate representation as opposed to, yeah, it was all good. But anyway, how can you get the most of your sleep? No caffeine in the afternoon. So for me, no caffeine after 1 p.m. So an hour and a half left, thankfully. Staying away from screens sort of an hour before bed, or putting on like blue light blocking glasses, which is something that I've done for a while. Same bedtime each night. Room temperature nice and cool, especially with it being warm at the moment. An hour before sleep, I would look at going for a lukewarm shower. That way your body is going to try and regulate its core temperature to where it should be, which will actually help you cool down, even though you might think that having a cold shower before bed works, when in reality a cold shower is going to send a more fight or flight response to the body and probably get you a little bit more upright, cortisol a little bit higher, all things you do not want before you go to bed. Okay, so it might feel good, a cold shower before bed, but it's not actually doing what you may think it does. No scrolling on your phone in bed, 7 to 8 hours per night. It's going to give you the best chance of a quality sleep, and also not rush into the coffee machine the first thing in the morning. I could go into circadian rhythm. I could go into, trying to wake up at the same time each morning, go to bed at the same time. All different other bits and bobs, supplementation, ZMA, zinc, magnesium. But for this instance, nail the basics first, and then you can add the 1%. And then finally, you can still live a little. Okay, you can still enjoy life whilst optimizing your health and performance. So the way I see it, as if you can nail it for like 80, 90, if you can nail it, when you then go out and back into routine straight after, because you've built those habits and that foundation, you're going to be fine. You're going to be good to go. So if you going to want to celebrate you and your partner's anniversary and you have a couple of glasses of wine, a nice bit of food and dessert, that's not going to, if anything, I think that's probably quite good. I'll obviously taught you why that is. So it's not just chicken, rice, broccoli for the rest of your life. You can still go enjoy the fruits of your labour, going on holidays, meals, drinks, whatever else. Again, I won't go into this in too much detail because I've done videos about how to stay on track on holiday, but I won't bore you. And yeah, I think it's actually quite healthy to allow yourself a little bit of downtime, switch off, definitely mentally. And normally when I switch off, it's when the best ideas come to me, whether that be, going on a walk, having an ice cream, going away for a week, and if you're on holiday, just resetting. Because also, when I speak to a lot of clients, if they've been away for a week, they're gagging to get back into normal routine. That's when you know it's a part of their lifestyle, which is exactly what we want. Now, this is not me saying to go out on a bender Friday to Sunday and just go missing in action, rock up to work Monday looking awful, but you can obviously go out, enjoy yourself, balance it all because of the foundations that you've set. So that is obviously more about health optimization, not just solely in the gym. I know I went through a few bits and bobs in terms of the gym program and nutrition, but there's a lot more to it than just that. So there we go. That is this little video complete. If you want to grab a 3-day program that I've put together, so it's a free 3-day strength program, less than 3 hours in the gym per week, full body work, so it's full body push, full body pull, and then a full body session. There is 2 cardio workouts in there as well, but it's low intensity, steady state, so walk, slow run, bike, whatever it is. But that program there is pretty much what I would go with if you are looking at optimizing all your health, your performance, get stronger, improve your cardiovascular fitness, look good as well. So there we go. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe. I need to wrap this up because my laptop's about to die. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like I said, drop us a comment if there's any topics you want me to cover, and I will see you on the next one.